Hello, Virgo. Mm. Okay, I need you to understand something before we go any further. What came through when I sat with your energy today did not arrive gently. It did not build gradually the way most readings build, impression layering on top of impression, until the full picture assembles itself slowly enough to be described in real time. This came through all at once, complete and fully formed, carrying the specific emotional weight of something that has been accumulating in someone else's interior world for a long time and has now reached the point where it cannot be contained by that interior world any longer. Someone is sitting with what they did to you, not casually, not in the passing surface level way that people sometimes brush up against their own poor choices and then redirect their attention before the discomfort has time to fully land. In the deep, sustained, middle of the night, cannot stop returning to it way. The kind of sitting with something that tells you it has moved past the stage of optional reflection and into the stage of something much more serious. Something that is actively rewriting the way this person understands a chapter of their own life. And that chapter has your name all over it. Stay with me, Virgo, because this reading goes somewhere I think you have been quietly, privately waiting to arrive for longer than you have perhaps been fully honest with yourself about. Let me tell you how this came through, because the quality of the arrival matters. I sat down with your energy, and before I had even fully settled into the space of the reading, something arrived that I can only describe as weight. A specific, human, unmistakable kind of weight that does not belong to abstract energetic themes or broad collective patterns. It belonged to a person, a real, specific, entirely identifiable person whose energy was so present in your field that I felt them before I felt anything else, before any theme or narrative or detail. Just their presence, sitting heavily in the space around you as though they had been there for a while already, quietly and without invitation. That uninvited heaviness is regret, Virgo, and it belongs to someone you already know. Someone whose face, I suspect, surfaced in your awareness the moment I said those words, before I had given you a single additional piece of information to guide the recognition, because some part of you already knows who this is. Let me take you back to the beginning. Not the beginning of this week or this month or whatever most recent interaction with this person your mind jumped to when this video started. The real beginning. The moment where the thing they are now regretting was first set into motion. There was a decision, a specific, deliberate decision that this person made, or perhaps a series of smaller decisions accumulating into one larger one about how they were going to treat you, about what they were going to allow themselves to do or say or withhold from you, about how much of the truth you deserved to receive and how much they were going to keep for themselves or simply discard without full consideration of what the discarding was going to cost. And I want to be honest about something, because this reading would not be complete without it. In that moment, when this person made that decision, they were not thinking about you the way they are thinking about you now. They were thinking about themselves, about what was convenient or what was comfortable or what was easiest in the short term or what felt most protective of something they were prioritizing over your well-being, over your dignity, over the simple, basic honesty that you deserved. They chose something other than what you deserved. And they did it in a way they believed at the time they would be able to move past without significant consequence to their own interior life. They were wrong about that, and they know it now. Let me speak to what the regret actually looks like from inside them, because this is the piece that came through with the most specificity, and I want to deliver it to you in its full texture. It is not a single moment of feeling bad. It is not an occasional twinge of guilt that surfaces and then dissolves without leaving a mark. What this person is experiencing right now is the specific compounding quality of regret that comes from having made a decision that cannot be unmade, and from understanding with increasing clarity over time exactly what that decision cost them. Not just what it cost you, though I believe they are arriving at that understanding as well, what it cost them personally, what they lost when they chose to treat you the way they did, what version of their own life they walked away from the moment they made that choice. They are seeing you differently now, not because you have changed, because you haven't, not in the ways that matter, but because they have changed. Because something in their own experience since then, some accumulation of days and decisions and interactions with other people who do not carry what you carry, has given them a reference point they did not have before. A basis for comparison that is making the loss of you, and it is a loss they are now fully feeling it as, register. In a way, it simply could not register when it was first happening. You cannot fully understand what you had until you are standing in the reality of not having it anymore. That is where they are standing right now. I want to speak to the specific things they are regretting because I feel several distinct threads in this, and I think naming them clearly is one of the most valuable things I can offer you in this reading. The first thread is about honesty, about the specific ways they were not honest with you, whether through direct dishonesty or through omission or through the particular cruelty of letting you believe something that they knew or should have known was not entirely true. They are sitting with the dishonesty now in a way that feels heavy and specific, going back through the instances of it, seeing each one clearly, perhaps more clearly than they allowed themselves to see it at the time, and understanding, with the benefit of the perspective that time and distance and their own growth have given them, that you deserved better. That the dishonesty, however convenient it was for them in the moment, was a fundamental failure to treat you with the respect that you were owed. The second thread is about what they took from you. Your time, your energy, your emotional investment in something that they were not fully matching with their own. Your trust, given genuinely and received carelessly. There is a real reckoning happening inside them right now about the cost of what was done, not just in the abstract, but specifically to you, specifically to your experience of that period, specifically to whatever it was you were carrying and hoping for and extending toward them while they were busy prioritizing other things. And the third thread, and this is the one that I feel most intensely in their energy, is about who you are, about the specific, unrepeatable, completely unique combination of qualities that you bring to every connection you make, that you brought to whatever this was between you, and that they treated as though it were ordinary enough to be replaced or returned to at a later date of their choosing. That assumption, that your particular quality of presence and care and depth was something they could set aside and find again whenever they decided they were ready, has been dismantled completely by their experience of life since then. Nothing has replaced it. Nothing has come close. I need to pause here for a moment because something is arriving very specifically for a portion of you watching this, and I don't want to move past it without addressing it directly. For some of you, this person is someone from a romantic context, a relationship, or something that was approaching one, or something that existed in that ambiguous territory between the two that ended because of a choice they made. And what they are regretting is not just the connection itself, but the specific way they handled its ending, the carelessness of it, or the cowardice of it, or the cruelty of it, even if the cruelty was unintentional, even if they told themselves at the time that what they were doing was reasonable or necessary or simply unavoidable. For others, this is not romantic in nature. This is a friendship, a close one, or a family dynamic, or a professional relationship that carried real personal weight, where someone made a choice to prioritize something else over the trust and the care you had invested in them. And what they are regretting now is the specific quality of what existed between you, the safety of it, the ease of it, the particular way you showed up for them that they perhaps did not fully value until it was no longer available. Both of these versions carry the same essential energy. Someone who let go of something real for reasons that made sense to them at the time, and who is now standing in the full, unmedicated awareness of what that letting go actually cost. I want to speak to something underneath your questions about this whole situation, Virgo, because I know how you process things like this. Part of you has been waiting for this. Not in a vindictive way, not from a place of wanting them to suffer or needing their regret as validation of your own worth, but in the quiet, honest, deeply human way that people wait for the reality of a situation to finally reach someone who wasn't ready to see it clearly when it was first in front of them. You saw the truth of what was happening more clearly than they did at the time. You felt the weight of the choices being made more fully than they allowed themselves to feel it. And some part of you has been holding the awareness of that gap between what you understood and what they were willing to acknowledge, in a place you haven't always let yourself examine directly. This reading is the universe confirming what that part of you already knew. Not to give you closure in the sense of something being finished and filed away, but to give you the specific grounding confirmation that your perception was accurate, that what you felt was real, that the loss you experienced was not one-sided, even if it took them significantly longer than it took you to understand what was actually lost. Have you felt this person's energy shifting around you recently, even without direct contact, even without any explicit signal? That specific quality of something turning in someone's interior world that you can sense even at a distance, even without being able to point to a specific event that caused it. Let me know in the comments, because I feel so many of you have been carrying the awareness of this shift without having the full picture of what was driving it. Now I want to speak to what this person is doing or not doing with the regret they are carrying. Because regret alone is information, but what someone does with it tells you far more than the feeling itself. I feel hesitation in their energy, a real specific hesitation that is not simply about whether to reach out to you, but about something larger than that, about whether they have the right to, about whether the distance created by what they did is something they are entitled to attempt to cross, given that they were the one who created it. About whether what they want, which is some form of reconnection, some form of being given the chance to be different with you than they were before, is something they have earned the right to ask for. They are not sure they have. And that uncertainty, that genuine questioning of their own right to make a move in your direction, is actually one of the more honest things they have arrived at in this whole process. Because at least it represents a real reckoning with the weight of what was done, rather than the casual assumption that wanting to undo something is sufficient justification for attempting to undo it. Whether they eventually move through that hesitation and toward you is something I feel is genuinely still in motion, not settled, not decided, but leaning in a direction. Inhale with me for a second, Virgo, because here is what I want you to carry out of everything I have said so far before we move toward the close of this reading. Their regret is not your responsibility to manage or to resolve or to make easier for them to sit with by offering reassurance before they have even asked for it. You did not create the situation that produced this regret. You were the one on the receiving end of the choices that are now causing it. And whatever compassion you might feel for the fact that they are struggling, and I do feel compassion in your energy, it does not obligate you to do anything with that compassion before you have fully tended to what the original situation cost you. Your well-being comes first here, not out of hardness, out of the simple, clear Virgo understanding that you cannot make good decisions about someone else from a depleted or unhealed place. Get clear within yourself first about what you actually want, about what any future version of this dynamic, if there is one, would need to look like in order to be something you genuinely want, rather than simply something that's being offered and feels familiar. Familiarity is not the same as rightness, and someone regretting what they did is not automatically evidence that they are capable of doing differently. Let me speak to what comes next in this situation, because the energy does not stop at the regret itself. It is moving, building towards something, even if that something is not yet fully formed or fully visible from where you are standing. There is a move coming from this person in your direction. I feel it clearly, and I want to be specific about what I mean by that, because I do not want to leave it vague in a way that sets you up for confusion about what to expect. This is not necessarily a grand gesture or a dramatic declaration or anything that arrives with obvious, unmistakable intention attached to it. It may be something quieter than that. An opening of a line of communication that has been closed. A message that seems casual on its surface, but that carries underneath the surface the full weight of everything I have described in this reading. A presence made known in a way that is small enough to be deniable, but real enough that you will feel exactly what it is the moment it arrives. Watch for the quiet version as carefully as you would watch for the loud one. Because with this particular person, in this particular situation, the quiet version is probably more honest than anything loud would be. As we move toward the close of this reading, I want to say something to you directly, Virgo, about who you are in this story. Because you have been carrying something around this situation, around this person and what they did and what it cost you, that I want to name clearly and then gently encourage you to begin setting down, not because the weight of it wasn't real or wasn't warranted, but because you have been carrying it past the point where it is useful to you, past the point where it is telling you anything you don't already know, and into the territory where it is simply occupying space in your interior world that belongs to something better. You handled what was done to you with a grace that this person did not deserve at the time, and that they are only now beginning to understand the full magnitude of. You did not collapse. You did not become bitter or closed or hardened in the ways that would have been completely understandable responses to what happened. You continued being who you are, with all the depth and all the care and all the extraordinary discernment that makes you who you are, through a season that would have fundamentally altered lesser people. That is not nothing. That is one of the most significant things I feel in your energy right now. And it is the thing that this person sitting with their regret is circling back to again and again in their own private reckoning with what they let go of. They know who they had. They know what it cost them. And they know, probably better than they have ever admitted to anyone, that what they are sitting with right now is entirely of their own making. If this reading moved something real in you today, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy right now. And leave me a comment below. Tell me who came to mind the moment I started speaking. Tell me how long you have been carrying the awareness of this situation. Tell me what it feels like to hear it named out loud in this way. I read every single word you share with me, every comment, every story. I carry your energy with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, what was done to you was not the end of your story. It was simply the part that made everything that comes next mean more than it would have meant otherwise. And that person sitting with their regret right now is the proof of it.